Mic check. 1, 2. Mic check. 1, 2. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another accountability live stream. Happy New Year's Eve, at least here in the Philippines. I know it's December 30th out in the States, out in Canada, but welcome. Nice to have you all here. It's the end of the year. How many of you are waiting for the 1st of January? How many of you are waiting until 2026? Listen, I get it. I understand. I know that even somebody recently left a comment on my latest live stream and said, but January 1st is such a fresh start. And I agree. Even I succumb to that. Even I tell myself, yeah, January 1st, fresh start. Good way to clean the slate off and get my goals in gear and really plan things out. But the way I like to look at it is, why can't every day be like that? Why can't every day be another opportunity to learn and grow and evolve? Because the more you let time pass by, the more you are, wasting time, obviously, but the more you're backpedaling, the more you're kicking the can down the road, the more you're giving yourself an excuse to wait until Monday, wait until the 1st. I look at this, I look at where I'm at today. Today is day 787 of my journey. I've been doing this for over 2 years right now. And I know that imperfect consistency, showing up every day, or at least the majority of the time, making sure that I am doing the best that I can for myself today, is better than giving it all up and walking away from it. Is better than saying, I'm going to start on Monday. Is better than saying, I'm going to wait until 2026. So for people who are in here right now, who are waiting for the 1st of the year, this is your opportunity to tell yourself, this is the last time you do something like this. The question you should really be asking yourself right now is, can you commit to 2026? And I'm not talking about committing in a way where you are fasting like crazy, eating the cleanest, torturing yourself with physical activity throughout the entire year. All I am wondering or asking you is, can you commit to imperfect consistency for 2026? I have a lot to discuss on today's live stream. I don't know if I'm going to be able to share everything that I need to share because my brain is kind of all over the place still. It is 9:38 in the morning here in Manila. I have a lot going on today. I have other work on my brain because I have other things to finish for my client, but I will try to go over everything that I can by the time we end today to help you get ready for 2026. Because even though I've been doing this for over 2 years, even though I started my journey back in November of 2023, that means I put effort in 2023, I put effort in all of 2024, and I put effort in all of 2025. And that's going to be no different than 2026. I know that my perseverance, the imperfect consistency that I have been driving on for this long right now will continue to help me get to my goals in 2026. And think about it this way too. My goals have changed over time, just like yours have, just like yours will. And right now, your goal might be to get to a certain weight. Right now, your goal might just be to drop weight on the scale. And I'm here to remind you that it should be more than that. A lot of you, what I feel like your goals should be is number one, happy and healthy. That should be your number one goal. Your goal should be to be at your optimal health and to be the happiest that you can be. That should be your number one goal. That should take precedence over everything. And I'm not saying that your happiness is determined by the weight on the scale. I'm not saying that your happiness is determined on just if you're feeling such and such, because there are nuances when it comes to that. When I talk about happiness and health, I'm just saying do the things that you know are good for you. And how does that happen is by number two, creating good habits, working on good habits, learning how to do even small things to increase the amount of times these good habits get into place. Building something that will be meaningful for you, for your health and happiness. Juan just threw out here a $10 super sticker. Juan, thank you for your support. I appreciate you. Thank you for, I don't know what that super sticker looks like right now. Otherwise, I would describe it. I can't see it on my end here, but I will take a look at it after in the chat. Juan, thank you for your support. I appreciate you so much. Thank you. Thank you. We'll be going through chat later. I will be talking to others in a bit, but want to just give you a shout out for supporting me in that way. And so before I lose my train of thought, the third thing that I want to talk about that we should be aiming for, and I feel like this is or should be on everyone's goals, all three of these, is number three. Well, let me just kind of rephrase it. So in case I might have lost somebody. So number one, your goal for 2026 should be to continue to be as happy and healthy as you can be. Number two is to improve or add on or continue and retain your good habits, habits that will contribute to your health and happiness. And number three, which should be no surprise, is to start breaking your bad habits, is to start minimizing the frequency of how often these bad habits come to fruition, is to tell yourself that I know I still have a hard time with X, Y, and Z. I know I still have a hard time when it comes to overeating or binge eating. I know I have a hard time when it comes to throwing everything away. I know I have a hard time when it comes to being super lazy and procrastinating. These are bad habits that many of us possess, and they do not change overnight. But you know what? Practicing, and this would be number four, imperfect consistency is what will help you break out of these bad habits, is what will help you retain or improve your good habits, and will ultimately result in improved health and happiness. So before I continue on here, just want to give a shout out to people who are in here in chat. The writers, Eric, Deja, Judy, Lynn, put on the tiara, Happy Bunny, Maggie May, and then Juan with the super sticker today, Jennifer, am I missing anyone in here? Max, Andrew, welcome. Thanks for being here today. So as I talk about this, my question for you, if you're in here in chat right now, is what are your goals for 2026? Have you put a plan and a strategy together? Have you started preparing for 2026 if your goal is to start on the 1st? We will be live streaming again Well, I'll be live streaming tomorrow, but I'll also be live streaming publicly to everyone the day after, I believe would be on the 1st. So on the 1st of January, hopefully you'll have your goals set. Hopefully it will be the last time that you tell yourself, I'm going to start today. Because if you're sitting here and you're thinking about it, how many times have you been in this situation? Were you doing this on December 31st, 2024? On December 31st, 2024, were you telling yourself, this is what I'm going to do for 2025? And how well did that work out for you? Did you do this on December 31st, 2023, December 31st, 2022? Have you done this so many times, year in and year out, that you don't even remember how often you've been doing it? Has it become a ritual at this point? Has it become a bad habit at this point where you let the entire year pass by and then on December 31st, you tell yourself, I'm going to start in January? Yes, I get it. January 1 is such a fresh start. It's a different year. But you know what? They're all arbitrary numbers. These are all numbers that at the end of the day, by July 17th, 2026, you're not even going to be thinking about that. Hell, by February 18th, 2026, you're not even going to be thinking about that. Which is why it's so important that you just start today, that you just start now. And like I said, I understand if this is the place that you're at. I understand wanting to have that fresh start. The holidays are over, so you can't use that as an excuse. Some people are off, and so it gives them the opportunity to focus more on themselves than worry about work. But this is also where I tell you that work shouldn't take precedence over your health. But for a lot of people on the 1st of January, you have the opportunity to have, it's not even the opportunity. For a lot of people on January 1st, you just don't have excuses at this point. There are no excuses. And so if that is what your motivating force is at the moment, the more power to you. I'm just wondering, on February 1st, on March 1st, on April 1st, can you continue on your journey? By December 31st, 2026, can you come back here and say you've committed to what you're doing? That's the real question, is can you commit for the entire year? I say this as somebody who's been doing this for over 2 years. I have committed for the majority of the time. I have had my head in the game for the majority of the time. But it hasn't always been like that. There have been times where I have turned my back to this. There have been times where I've laid in bed, put the sheet over my head and said, I don't want to deal with this right now. I have been there. I have absolutely done it. But I didn't let one bad day turn into one bad week. I didn't let one bad week turn into one bad month. I didn't let one bad month turn into 3, 4 bad months, turn into a bad year. I didn't let what happened to me back in 2021 happen to me now. Why? Because I understand the importance of accountability. So for many of you who are planning to start on January 1st, 2026, and when I ask you, can you commit to a full year of accountability? I am also wondering, in that year of accountability, can you continue to show up for yourself? You don't have to show up for me, but I'm already telling you right now, I will be regularly live streaming. I will be continuing to do what I'm doing today. If it means that I will be live streaming 3 times a week, that's my plan. I would love to do that from now until the end of next year. By the end of 2026, I would love to still show that consistency, to be imperfect consistent in that way. And I know that I can't commit to every single day, but I know that I can still put the effort in. So we'll see what that looks like. Before I do jump into chat here, I'm just going to go ahead and talk a little bit about the New Year's, and then we'll see how everyone is doing. So here in the Philippines, it is December 31st. It's a Wednesday. Today is the last day of the year. I've been doing this now for over 2 years. Over 2 years. And it hasn't been a perfect ride, but it has been a very consistent ride. It has been one where I am still hitting my timer so that I can remind myself, Jerome, are you fasting right now? Are you taking time away from food right now? Or are you eating? And if I'm eating, then at least I am being mindful about it and saying, okay, Jerome, you're on the clock right now. Eat if you're hungry. Be mindful if you can. And if it gets out of control, try to minimize the damage as best as you can and keep moving forward. During the last 787 days, I haven't had any kinds of thoughts in my head about starting over. It sounds ridiculous at this point. It would sound ridiculous to come back tomorrow and be like, hello, everyone. Welcome to day one of my journey. Because why? Because it's the first of the year? To throw away everything that I've done? No, at this point, every day is a continuing moment in what I've been doing. There's no starting over. There's no saying, okay, this is how it's going to be. This is the plan. And there's nothing wrong with having a plan and a strategy. I do it too. I just know that at this point, with where I'm at, I look at 787 days and I see that and I'm like, damn, I've come pretty far. And imperfect consistency is really what has led that to me. So just to share with you some highlights of my year, I fasted consistently. You all know this. My fasts weren't 90-hour fasts like they were back in 2023. They weren't 160-hour fasts like they were back in 2023. They weren't even 65-hour fasts like I had accomplished in 2024. 2025 was a lot of alternate day fasts. Alternate day fasts started to happen around May of 2025. So my fasts became shorter, but I still fasted consistently. Fasting for prolonged amounts of time isn't the only way to fast. I say that as somebody who has for a long time thought the only way that I was going to get to my goals was by fasting for 90 plus hours time and time again. I've taught myself that it doesn't have to be that way. It can be if you want, but it doesn't have to be. Number two, I own my struggles. I own the fact when I was having a hard time controlling my eating. You see that right now. I've had and talked about times when I was feeling burnt out. I've talked about times when I would go on vacation and I couldn't control myself, that I didn't want to show up in the ways that I normally would when I'm not on vacation and I'm on a better routine. But owning those struggles and showing up for that, I'm telling you, when you are struggling, when you are having a hard time, when you can finally come face to face with what you're doing and not saying, I don't want to think about this right now. Let's worry about this tomorrow. Let's worry about this next week. Let's worry about this when I come back from vacation. Let's worry about this after my birthday. Let's worry about this after the holidays are over and 2026 rings in. Does that sound familiar? Sometimes owning your struggles means facing it today. And it doesn't mean that the recourse or that the action that precedes owning a struggle means it's time for a long fast, it's time to eat the cleanest. All it means at the moment is to just own it. and be like, yeah, it's been hard. It's been rough, but this is what I can do for myself today. I don't even need to go into depth with this last bullet point here is I stayed committed, because owning your struggles is staying committed. Fasting consistently is staying committed. Hitting a timer is staying committed. Being mindful of the way you eat is staying committed. I'm just going to go through these really quick here, but some of the major things that happened to me in 2025 is in February earlier this year, I vacationed out here to the Philippines, which was back then a vacation, is now me living here. In February of 2025, I had put in my notes that I felt guilty overeating, but I acknowledged it instead of spiraling, meaning that, yeah, I ate a lot and I felt guilt and I felt shame about it. But instead of saying, well, let's pretend it didn't happen, let's not even talk about it, let me just walk away from it, at least for now. Instead, I owned up to it. Like I said, I owned up to my struggles instead of letting it live in my head, instead of spiraling out. In March of 2024, or in March of 2025, I was struggling doing 65-hour fasts. If you know my journey from 2023 and 2024, a lot of that time was spent doing 90-hour fasts, longer, prolonged fasts. That struggle would start to show itself in different ways throughout the year. A month later, I performed strict carnivore. I did something very difficult, because not only was I doing strict carnivore, but I was also doing 65-hour fasts. So at that time, I was just eating a certain way. I believe at that time, the only things I was eating was meat and eggs and nothing else. Doing 65-hour fasts at the same time. I also gave up caffeine. It was a great way to test my discipline. It was a great way to test my willpower and reminding myself of the things that I can do. But I also realized that it wasn't in my wheelhouse to restrict in that way. A month after that, and this is the biggest thing for me, in May of 2025, I finally learned how to put some control into the calories that I was eating. Now, for me, this is big. This is huge for me, because this has always been the hardest thing that I have ever had to do in my life. You all know how I eat. You've seen me recently eat close to 10,000 calories. It is still something that is very hard for me to do. But because I have been showing up every day, because I have been trying to learn about myself every day, it has finally given me the opportunity to find some control in the way that I eat. So during the month of May, I learned how to fast for less and how to eat less. I was just looking at my stats, and for over a month, I averaged 2,600 calories over 18 refeeds, fasting for around 45 hours. That is the most control that I've had calorie-wise in a very, very long time. I'm very proud of that. And that's something that now I can take with me into 2026. You have to think about your growth and your evolution over time. That's why when many of you are frustrated about the weight on the scale, when many of you are frustrated about, I'm stuck in these 5 pounds, I'm stuck in this 10-pound loop, and then you walk away from it and you give up, you are not understanding. You are not giving yourself the opportunity to grow from that plateau. You are not giving yourself the opportunity to learn from what is happening. Because in that time where you're plateauing, in that time you're looping into the same thing, maybe you're not really asking yourself, why am I here? What am I doing wrong? Am I not fasting long enough? Am I eating too much, which usually is the case? Am I snacking too much in between? Am I under reporting Am I misrepresenting how many calories I'm truly eating? If you're somebody that's logging your food and you're underreporting your calories, that might be the issue there. But many of us don't even get to that point because we get frustrated and we say, this isn't working. So now it's time to do a 5-day fast. Now it's time to do a 21-day fast. When you get into that place, when you start feeding into the all or nothing, almost always will you spiral out, will you burn out. About 2 months later, in July, I binged for the first time in almost 2 years. Now, you can look at my highlights before that, and you can see how I went on vacation. I struggled doing 65s. I finally learned how to calorie control. So why? How did I get into this place where I binged in over 2 years? Why did this happen? Now, if you're new here and you're not sure or you just don't remember, a lot of this happened because I made the decision to move to the Philippines. And during that time, I had not publicly told anyone. I had, at that point, just gotten into the beginning stages of, okay, I got to sell everything I own. I need to figure out the logistics of getting here. I need to find a place to live. I need to do this with my paperwork for the country, so on and so forth. And at that time, I felt overwhelmed and I let my bad habits come into play. And I used that stress to comfort with food. And that's how the binging began. And I owned up to it. Like I have over the last 787 days, I owned up to it. I didn't run away from it, although at that time I was. At that time, I had the sheet over my head. At that time, I wasn't ordering food, but I was going out and getting food because I haven't Grubhubbed or DoorDashed in years. I was doing things that I had done in the past, and it was resurfacing because I started to realize this is how I cope with things. If I'm stressed out, if I'm feeling overwhelmed, if I'm feeling super anxious, I deal with it by eating. I deal with it by overeating. I deal with it by turning my back to my good habits. And because I owned up to it, a couple months later, after binging that way, I was very upfront and I decided to be more accountable. That is where you all, if you've known me for a while now, that is where I live streamed for 100 days in a row. Every single day I live stream for 100 days in a row to add to my accountability, to tell people I am not turning my back from this. I am not running away from this. During those 100 days, they were not perfect. There were days where I overate. But during that time, I learned so much about myself. I learned to control my calories a lot better. I learned to be happy with just showing up, with just doing what I can do for myself. I really learned how to eat better. I learned how to get to the gym and lift differently. I learned that it wasn't always just about my cardio. I learned that it wasn't just about long fasts all day, every day. I also, in a lot of ways, came to the realization that I just can't eat shitty all the time. And with that being said, on November 6th of 2025, I hit my lowest weight in over 4 years at 135.6. I want people to understand this. I hit my lowest weight in over 4 years at that point. And it wasn't because I was fasting 90 hours. When I hit my lowest weight back in the day, that was because of that, because I was fasting super long. I was putting in really big cardio sessions. And this time around, I was eating every other day, fasting every other day. I was performing ADF, and I hit my lowest weight at that point. But I want you to understand this. When you look at these highlights of 2025, Are these highlights of perfection? Are these highlights all good highlights? Because I'm telling you right now, a binge isn't a highlight or not a good highlight, but it's something to highlight. And if you look at where I'm at currently, on November 15th, I moved to the Philippines. And I wrote here, it's come with its own set of struggles, but I'm not stopping. I'm up in weight since I moved here, even though I hit my lowest weight just 2 months ago. But it's because I'm in a different place. I'm doing different things. I'm meeting up with people I haven't seen in over 3 decades. I'm in a country where, yes, English is used a lot, but it isn't the primary language. So there's a lot of skill building that I'm still trying to figure out. And some of that comes taken out with food. It has been a year of imperfect consistency. So I forgot to add this slide in here, but I did write it down. So if I can get this mouse to properly move over here, just to show you what consistency looks like in general. I've been doing this for over 780 days, right? I've been doing this for over 2 years. I'm looking here at my notes. In 2024, so 2 years ago at this point, in 2024, my average weight, because you all know I step on the scale every day and I record that number. In 2024, my average weight at that time was 149.3. In 2024, that's what my average weight was, 149.3. My average weight in 2025, including today, because it's December 31st, my average weight is 148.5. That's about a 1.5 pound difference. Most people might look at that and say, well, you didn't really improve. It took you a year to get your average down to 1.5 pounds. You went from 149.3 to 148.5. That's not even 1.5 pounds, is it? No, that's less than a pound. So not even a pound. But I look at that and I'm like, damn, that's 2 consistent years of keeping my weight under 150 when I used to weigh 235 pounds. So when I talk to all of you about losing this weight and keeping it off for 2 years, naturally, there's proof. Has it been perfect? No. Have I struggled? Yes, absolutely. But what makes the difference between you and me is consistency. That is, honestly, I feel like the only difference between you and me. As somebody who is morbidly obese to other people who might be here who are overweight or obese or morbidly obese, the only difference between you and me is my consistency. Take that from somebody who has been morbidly obese for pretty much the 45 years of my living, except for these last 2 years and 2 months, 3 months, whatever it might be. So just to round off this yearly recap here, I'm just going to talk to you about 2026. In some ways, starting can be the hard part, but for many of us, on the 1st of January, when it's a new year, starting isn't the hard part. The holidays are over. You don't have any family events going on. You probably don't have any other things happening during this time because it's winter for most people in the States. And during this time, people are not going out. They're either stuck at home because it's cold or it's snowy. So for a lot of people, the 1st of January is a good way to start. Starting isn't the hard part. continuing on your journey is. So my question to all of you for 2026, from January 1st, 2026 to December 31st, 2026, can you commit? And when I say can you commit, I'm not saying commit to prolonged fasts the entire year. I'm not saying commit to eating the cleanest the entire year. I am not saying go hard all day, every day for the entire year. But yes, if you want to do prolonged fast for the entire year, that's entirely up to you. You want to eat super clean the entire year, that's entirely up to you. But what I'm trying to ask you is, for the year of 2026, can you commit imperfectly? Can you commit to imperfect consistency? Can you commit to at least hitting a timer when you're eating and stopping the timer? Can you commit to hitting a timer when you're fasting and stopping the timer when you eat? Because that's simple. That doesn't take a lot. I know there are many of you that refuse to hit a timer when you didn't fast as long as you thought you were going to, and say, fuck it, I don't want to deal with this right now. I'm going to deal with it later. And then you have to deal with deleting that fast, or then thinking about, okay, this is what my plan is going to be, and then starting this shit over and over and over. If any of you are planning on starting tomorrow or the 1st, because I know it's the 30th for people out in the States, but if you're planning to start on the 1st of January, can you at least commit to doing something imperfectly consistent for the year? Not every day has to be a super long fast. Not every day has to be the cleanest eating schedule, but can you just commit to doing something imperfectly? And if you can, if that's something that you would like to do, I'm going to be doing it all year as well. I just told you, in 2024, my average weight was 149. My average weight for 2025 was 148. And the plan for 2026 is to still get that average down. I know I'm still up in weight. I know I still have excess body fat that I need to lose. So I'm going to be doing it all year of 2026. And you know what? Even if I hit my goals, even if 2026 is the year that I have the perfect weight and look that I'm looking for, it doesn't end. I now have to maintain it. I mean, I talked to you all about doing ADF, and my end goal isn't to just do ADFs. My end goal is to eventually do OMADs every now and then. Is to still push a longer fast every now and then as well. This is a long road. I want people to remember that. This is a lifelong journey. This journey does not end. You might not want to hear that, but this journey doesn't end. It doesn't mean you have to fast forever. When people ask me, Jerome, does that mean that you're going to fast for the rest of your life? Yeah, because we all fast. You all know that. I know there are some of you that probably hate hearing that, but if you sleep, you fast. Everybody fasts. There's a reason they call it breakfast, because we're breaking our fast, whatever time that might be. So yes, fasting will always be a part of my journey. It's just a matter of, am I doing an ADF today? Am I doing an OMAD today? Am I doing a prolonged fast today because I ate way too much the day before? And this will help me reset myself. I'm very careful with using the word reset because I don't want people to think that I'm starting over. I'm doing the all or nothing. But there are times to do a prolonged fast. There are times to do OMAD. There are times to do 16-hour fasts. I think the important thing here too is when you do something imperfectly consistent, I want you to remember this is and always will be a safe place for that. There is no shame. There is no judgment. There is no guilt, no embarrassment when it comes to this. Show up. I do not care if I'm in here struggling and sharing that and people watching it and being like, oh, there goes Jerome again, failing. Oh, Jerome, because you know what? I remember when I started this journey and I came back, if I look at the comments then versus the comments today, the comments then is like, there's no way you're going to commit to this. There's no way this is going to be sustainable. There's no way. And here we are, 2+ years later. And a lot of it is because I continue to show up. A lot of it I have learned over time. The way I think has changed over time. The way you think right now, if you are thinking very all or nothing, this is your chance to show up on a regular basis and see if that mindset will change. Because the more you do this, the more you realize, oh, I can't do 90-hour fasts forever. Because as somebody who did 90-hour fasts for 5 months in a row and then did 65-hour fasts for a huge part of 2024, I've also come to the realization that I don't want to fast this long all the time. It's not something that I want to do time and time again. It is something that I will practice. It is something that is still important to me. I know there are times when it calls for a prolonged fast, but that isn't how I'm going to be. That's not how I'm going to be living my life on a day-to-day basis. Now, for you, maybe it is. But I'll say, out of my own personal experience, after doing this for over 2 years and recording it publicly and sharing my experience in this way, I know it's not for everyone. I know that people cannot commit to this for this long, fasting the way that I have. So I also understand from personal experience, this shit will burn you out if you do not practice imperfect consistency. If you are doing all or nothing, all or nothing, all or nothing, this shit will burn you out. And that is why I am such a proponent of doing something long-term. And I am such a huge proponent or supporter of doing something that can be sustainable, because those things are important. And that's a really good segue. I forgot what my next slide was here. Doing something imperfectly consistent. And these are 3 things that, at least for me, it rings very true. You keep it simple. When people ask me, Jerome, how long should I fast for? Jerome, how long should I keep my refeeding window open? Keep it simple. Fast for as long as you can. If you're feeling a little discomfort, know your limits. When it's time to break, you break. You keep it simple. So when people say, Jerome, should I fast for 65 hours? Should I fast for 90 hours? Jerome, what do you think about me fasting for a week? My answer to you is fast for as long as you can healthily. And then the moment you can't, you break your fast, you refeed. I don't even really need to explain the way to refeed. You know what healthy eating looks like. You know that donuts and pizza is not as healthy as eating something like chicken and rice and vegetables, fish and rice and vegetables, turkey and beans, and I'm talking whole foods. If they're one ingredient foods, simple. There isn't much when it comes to that. Keep it simple when it comes to your fasting, when it comes to your refeeding. Keep it measurable. Hit a timer. If you're somebody that doesn't want to step on a scale because you step on the scale and it causes you to overeat or binge, then maybe stepping on the scale isn't the wisest thing to do. But if you're not stepping on a scale because you don't want to know what the number looks like after you have a bad day of eating, you're doing yourself a disservice. You are not measuring because you know what you're doing? You're putting the sheet over your head. You're walking away from it. When you don't do things, when you have a bad eating day and you don't want to own up to it, that's on you. That's your fault. That isn't on anyone else but you. Sometimes stepping on a scale, measuring that is your accountability. Why do you think I show up here on a regular basis? Why do you think I stand back here and show you what I look like physically on a regular basis? Why do you think I tell you what I eat or how many calories I eat, even though I really don't want to on a regular basis? Because it keeps me accountable. Keeping it measurable is keeping yourself accountable. The last thing here is to keep it realistic. I don't have to plug into too much of that. When it comes to keeping it realistic, we all know that yes, sometimes you'll be able to push a 3-day fast, a 7-day fast. Some of you might be able to push a 21-day fast. But is it really realistic to do this on a regular basis? Is it really realistic to eat the cleanest and never eat a slice of bread again? Never eat or have a slice of birthday cake again? Probably not. And remember, I am not here to tell you that you cannot push hard. Don't come in here thinking, but Jerome's not motivating me enough because he's not telling me to fast for the longest amount of time. I thought this was a fasting channel. I thought it is. But you also have to keep it realistic. These are things that you can do from time to time. Yes, I did 90-hour fast for 5 months in a row. Is it the most realistic? For me, it was. For most people, it isn't. So don't come to me saying that I'm not talking about doing something hard, because it's something that I continue to do. Honestly, I think the harder part, which most people do not give credit for, the harder part is doing something imperfectly consistent time and time again, is to show up every day, time and time again. That is the fucking harder part. That is the part that most people do not prioritize. People don't think about that because it takes too long. Oh, that isn't the quickest way of losing weight. And I'll say it again, it doesn't mean that you can't go hard if you want to. You want to lose that weight quick, you know what it takes. You know that fasting, eating 0 calories is going to drop weight on the scale quickly. But for a lot of people, that is not sustainable. And for most people, when they act that way, they do the all or nothing part. The very last thing I have here is at the bottom. You don't need all days. When I talk about all or nothing, that's when you go all out. That's when you eat the cleanest. You don't need those days per se. They are not necessary. But what you need are less nothing days. When I talk about the all or nothing, you don't necessarily need these all days when you're going all out all day, every day. You can have them, but you necessarily do not need them. What you don't need, what you need less of, are these nothing days. The days where you walk away, the days where you put the sheet over your head because you don't want to deal with it. The day that you tell yourself, I don't want to weigh on the scale because I ate so much and I'm too whatever. I don't want to think about it. I want to forget about it. Oh, I don't want to get my steps in today because I already ate bad. Oh, I don't want to sleep early and get a good sleep routine in because I ate bad. Oh, I don't want to do excuse after excuse after excuse. You don't need those days. Ultimately, it would be great to eliminate those days, but we're human. We're imperfect. What you need is to have less nothing days. You don't have to have all days unless you want, but you've got to find a middle ground when it comes to that. Trying to see here if I had any other specific slides to go over. The last thing here for 2026, because this is me trying to prepare you. This is me trying to give you what you need to get through 2026, is have some imperfect goals. What do those goals look like? You already know what your perfect goals look like. Let's get that out of the way. I don't have to ask you what your perfect goals are because you already have that in your head. Many of you are in here already telling yourselves, I'm going to do this 3-day fast. You know what? At the beginning of the year, I'm going to do this 14-day fast. You know what? At the beginning of the year, I'm going to eat this specific way. I get it. We all have been there. I've heard it so many times at this point. Most people do not come to me, and most people do not talk about their imperfect goals. And so I'm here to share that with you now. You can have your perfect goals. You can have your all days. That's fine. We all know what that looks like. Eating 0 calories, fasting multiple days, sure, do it. You will find quick results. You will get great results, but will it be long-term? Will it be sustainable? And even after doing it, do you know what to do after? And if you don't, let's talk about imperfect goals. These are the ones that are not as pretty. These are the ones that are not as glamorous as sharing your 7-day fast, your 21-day fast. Maybe your imperfect goal for 2026 is to still show up daily, even if the action is small. What I mean by this is if you plan on doing a 72-hour fast and you only get 16 hours in, still show up for that 16-hour fast. Tell yourself, well, I didn't do 72. I still did 16. I still hit a timer. I'm going to try to eat as clean as I can. That second part here is to create a quote unquote minimum action day. What does that mean for many of you? What is a minimum action day? To me, I look at this as if you cannot fast for as long as your perfect goal is intended, you will at least do this. If you cannot fast for this long, I will at least do a 16-hour fast. If I can't do a 16-hour fast, I will make sure I at least hit a timer. I will at least get my steps in. If I break early and eat, I will take advantage of those calories and go to the gym, because at least that is the least I can do for myself. That is a minimum action day. That is still showing up. The least I can do is come to the live streams and tell everyone in there, hey, today was a rough day. I can do something that might feel embarrassing, that might feel guilty, but then remind myself that this is not a moment for embarrassment or guilt. This is a moment of showing up. This is accountability where maybe you have not implemented it before and you can do so today, or at least for 2026 if you're waiting for the new year. We are aiming for consistency, not perfection. We are aiming for consistency, not perfection. This is imperfect consistency to a T. Is that helpful? I hope it is. I hope for people who are watching this, this is your way to look at 2026 and tell yourself, I can do hard things. I can do that 14-day fast if I want. I can eat X, Y, and Z way if I want. But it's a reminder that you do not have to walk away from it. Instead, you can still do something imperfectly if those perfect days do not happen to go your way. All I'm telling you right now, if you want this in the shortest reply possible, is you do not have to give up. You do not have to give up in 2026. You do not have to start over. You do not have to wait until Monday. You do not have to wait until your vacation is over. You do not have to wait until whatever excuse you give yourself. All it means is if it's your birthday, enjoy your birthday. Nobody's telling you you have to fast on that day. Nobody is telling you that you have to walk 20,000 steps on that day. All I am saying is you are mindful of that day. You are doing the best that you can. If you end up indulging, you end up indulging, but you do not throw it away. You do not say, I'm going to start tomorrow. You are just going to keep plugging along. And I hope, what I would love is if any of you who are in here right now who are starting on the 1st of January, that you can show up and be like, Jerome, I watched you talk about this on New Year's Eve, and I want to show up. And I want to do the best that I can, regardless of where I'm at on my journey, is I will still keep pushing along. So that's all I have to share when it comes to that. I'm going to get into nerd stats, but I'm going to take some time. I'll talk to people in here in chat and see how all of you are doing. Because remember, this is an accountability live stream. This is a place for you to share how things are going on your journey. The writers came in here super early and said, I'm indulging, enjoying it. Writers is confessing to this, which is not an easy thing for many people to do. Also, still working on my levers. What does the writers mean by levers? It's what I talk about when it comes to your fasting, your eating, your refeeding, your cardio, your strength training. We all have certain levers on that. My fasting lever for a while was pushed up to the max. That sounds so cheesy. But my fasting lever was really working overtime. I was very good at fasting, but my diet lever was not so much. A very hard lever for me to push to work on, and still continues to be a difficult one. But that's why we have different levers, because if you're not fasting as long as you thought you would, you still have your diet lever to work on. If your diet lever is not working as well, you still have your fasting lever to work on. If your fasting lever and your diet lever sucks right now, you still have your cardio, you still have your strength training, you still have your sleep lever, because quality sleep is still important. You still have the mental part, understanding why you're doing what you're doing and how you're going to get out of this. The writers also says, thank you, Jerome. You're very welcome. No guilt, only self-love. Bye for now. The writers had also posted here that they weren't able to make it because their next door neighbor got robbed. So the writers, hopefully everything's okay. I can only imagine how difficult that is for that person, but just even being in a place where something like that happens. So hopefully you're doing all right, the writers. Thank you for sharing with us. Eric says, New Year's Eve here in Australia, New Year's Eve here as well in Manila. Eric says, I'll be doing a late OMAD day, celebrating with a nice steak later tonight. I love that for you, Eric. And before I forget, Happy New Year's to you, since you and I will be celebrating it at around the same time. So enjoy your OMAD tonight. Deja says, happy midweek, everyone. Day 2 of 3 of my dry fast. Wow. How's that going, Deja? Trying to break my record of 2 days. Actually feeling great. Well, there, you answered my question. Did some walking today, prioritizing rest this week, and getting ahead for the new year. And so I see this as well. And, you know, Deja is in here just like Eric is frequently. And I have noticed, especially with Deja has tried many different things, has not committed to one specific thing and said, this is what I'm going to be doing for the rest of my life, but is trying different things, seeing how they work, but also knowing that she has minimum action days where she can do different things and still say, maybe I can't do this, but I can do this right now. This is just like what the writers was saying, still working on different levers, because that's how this works. It isn't just about fasting. It isn't just about your eating. It is about everything. They all play a part on your journey. Judy says, Happy New Year's Eve, everyone. On day 2 of a 72-hour fast. We got this, Judy. Congrats on being 2 days in. You'll have to keep me posted or keep us posted when I stream again to let us know how you're doing on your 72. If you've been able to accomplish that, please keep me posted. Tasia says here, Jerome, I can't tell you how much your grace over guilt message has resonated with me. And if any of you missed that live stream, I can't remember what day it was, but the way I see this, right, is grace over guilt, meaning that we shouldn't just keep beating ourselves up. And I pretty much have been sharing this message since the beginning of this live stream, is we give ourselves grace. We accept imperfection. We're okay when we are not having the best day. Deja says, I'm up a little in weight from Christmas and for the first time not worried. And that must be such a relieving thing. That was one of my highlights for 2025, actually, is I talked about how I was in the Philippines in February. I was eating a little more. I felt guilty about it, but I eventually came to the point where I gave myself more grace over guilt. And knowing something like this is being up a little bit in weight isn't a death sentence, right? All that means is you're mindful about it. It's time to put work in whenever you can and keep going. Deja says, for the first time, I'm not worried. I'm just carrying on with habits and goals this week, because for many of you who are in here right now, it is not about the number on the scale. It is not about just making sure you get through a long fast. It is about building good habits and sticking to it. It is about breaking bad habits and learning how this process works. It is about imperfect consistency. I know a lot of different YouTube channels or other platforms on social media, they might have their way of doing things, but the more I do this and the longer I do this, fasting is a great tool. I can push a long fast if I really need to. It's a good way to help reset myself, take time away from food. But I really don't think there's any other thing that you can do for yourself naturally than just work on your habits, get good at finding balance, and knowing it doesn't have to be all or nothing. Happy Bunny says, hello, Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you, Happy Bunny. Hope everyone's wishes come true. Day 95. And so here's Happy Bunny sharing a day-to-day journey, not starting over. Happy Bunny, you're almost at 100 days at this point. I've been consistent with OMAD. In December, I went to the gym 17 times. The plan was to walk at least 2 miles and do strength training. And so I see this, Happy Bunny, and it makes me happy to see this because I also know there are days where you're struggling and days that are harder for you. But when you look back at your numbers and you see that, I hope that really gives you the motivation to say, I'm doing something consistently. I'm doing something that is contributing to my health and my happiness. Because even for me, moving here, having a rougher month, I also know that I've done so much for myself that I can't just give this up. So Happy Bunny, thank you for sharing with us. Keep pushing on your journey. Maggie says, still doing intermittent fasting, 16/8 or 18/6s. We'll be doing 20% days tomorrow and Thursday. We'll be back on ADF on Friday, still getting my 30-minute walks in every morning. And so, Maggie, I love this for you. Here's another example of working on multiple levers. Maggie's doing currently 16-hour fasts or 18-hour fasts. They're not prolonged fasts, but still being mindful about taking time away from food. Doing ADF later on, pushing a longer fast. Doesn't mean that every fast has to be long. Doesn't mean everything has to be an ADF. Doesn't mean everything has to be a 72, but flexibly fasting in that way. This is something that I'm going to have to do myself, something that I'm continuing to do. Maggie talks about a 20% day. What is a 20% day? A lot of people who come in here use many terms that I use, which I appreciate. A 20% day is a day where you are giving yourself an opportunity to eat more. Maybe you're not fasting on that day. Maybe you're going out to a party. Maybe you're on vacation. 20% days are days that happen 20%, not 20% of the time. That's literally 20% days are days that happen 20% of the time, or at least infrequently. So these are days where you might take a day off. These are days where you might go grab a couple drinks, but they only happen 20% of the time. So that's what Maggie is talking about here. I'll be doing 20% days tomorrow and Thursday. I will probably be doing a 20% day tomorrow, and I will be doing a 20% day on Saturday, but I'll talk about that later in the future. But Maggie is still working on getting 30 minutes of walking every morning. So still working on multiple levers here. Juan says here, I'm up 7 pounds, 225 from 218. The family get-togethers are killing me, you and me both. Since I've gotten here in November, so I flew out here in November 15, and my weight at that time was somewhere in the high 130s. I would say my weight by the time I moved here was somewhere between 136 and 138. It's been about a month now. It's been a month and a half since I've moved here, and I am no longer around 136 to 138. because of these family get-togethers, because I've been eating a lot more, because I've been thrown off my routine. My weight right now is somewhere between, I would say, 144 to 146. And more recently, it's maybe been somewhere around 146 to 148. But this is something that I plan on really getting in control sooner rather than later. And even as I say that, when I talk about being somewhere between 136 and 138, and currently being somewhere between 144 and 146, it's not the end of the world either. A lot of the reasons that my weight has still stayed in control, even though it's up, is because I am still practicing good, healthy habits. I am putting them where I can, and it is helping minimize the damage of putting on too much weight. Jennifer says, I'm cleaning out my fridge and pantry right now. So I'm wondering, Jennifer, for you, does that mean you are throwing everything bad away? I get it. I understand that. I just hope that you're giving yourself some grace and knowing that it doesn't have to be chicken, broccoli, and rice for the next 365 days. That's all I'm saying. But I don't know. You let me know, Jennifer, because I'll be reading chat later. I always like to read how things are going with people and what they're doing. So keep us posted. Max says, I'm from Somalia. Hi, from Somalia. Although, isn't Somalia with only one O? Did you know Somalia? I know Somalia has one O, unless there's another country I'm not familiar with. Juan also says, ready for 2026. My accountability partner is my wife. I love that. Sometimes, for many of us, accountability is the missing piece. She's my rock. However, you inspired me. My new goal is 200 pounds, slow and easy. Alternate days on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. I love this. Juan, keep us posted. Let us know how you're doing. I love seeing this. I love that you have a goal set up. Just remember to have a backup plan in place. If an alternate day doesn't happen, what will you be doing? Will you be then having a small refeed? Will you cut the refeed time short? Will you be making sure if I break early, I will only eat this many calories? I will keep things in check. Remember to always have a plan and keep pushing forward with it. Thank you for sharing with us, Juan. Hi, peace to all. Hi, Cap Rising. It's been a minute. Nice to see you in here. Cap Rising says, finally made an evening live. It's nice to see you. It's nice to see you. This is really good too, Eric. And it's interesting because I know there's somebody that I talked to that has mentioned something from AA as well. But from an AA member, you just need to commit to the next 10 minutes and the next hour. 124 hours at a time. And that's exactly the person I was talking to that I coached said the exact same thing, is sometimes it's just one day at a time, where in a lot of ways, that's how we have to look at it. You might not have the plan 3 months out or a year out. Sometimes it's just getting what you need to get done now. Select says here, still around 330, going for a 36 right now. Most of my recent fasts are around 16 to 24, sometimes shorter, sometimes longer, than pushing my 300-pound goal to March. Hope everyone is enjoying the holidays. Thank you, Select. Thank you for sharing this with us. Select, I would love to, if I can remember this 330 number. If anything, right, like, push your 36, just remember what a backup plan looks like. If the harder part for you is controlling the diet outside of the fasting part as well, just keep us posted. Let us know how things are doing. I love that you're here. I love that you continue to show what your journey is looking like. So continue to keep us posted. If you need anything additional, feel free to reach out to me, Slack. It's nice hearing from you. It's nice seeing you here. Miratimer says, hello, everyone. Let's crush 2026 with consistency, however imperfect. I love that. I love that. So I know you've been here more recently and you're showing up on a regular basis, and I hope to keep seeing you sharing your journey with us as well. Peace to All says, I deliberately took a break from fasting as I've hit it hard the last 6 months. And for many of us, sometimes it just means taking a break. And even when it comes to fasting in this way, it also doesn't mean that Just because you're taking a break from fasting doesn't mean that you have to not hit a timer. Now, sorry, I'm just charging my phone. Now, I understand, I have my battery pack here. I also don't need to give you all a play-by-play, but anyway, what I'm saying is if an extended fast isn't in your wheelhouse right now, it also doesn't mean that you can't hit a timer just to be aware. You also don't have to use a timer. The reason I hit a timer time and time again, and no pun intended, is because if I do not hit a timer, I start to lose focus. Sometimes when I don't hit a timer, I'm like, well, what does it matter? I don't have anything timing me anyway. There's no accountability. And so that's why I still do it. But peace to all. Thank you for sharing this with us. It's been 2 weeks, no fasting. I'm ready to get back in it, but having trouble doing it. I'll keep trying, hoping these lives will give me a boost back on the fasting wagon. And so honestly, peace to all. If you haven't been fasting in 2 weeks, that's my question to you is if you're having a hard time right now, are you hitting a timer? Because maybe that's what it takes right now. Maybe it just means knowing that you are timing yourself, knowing that you are doing something that is changing or putting that little bug in your brain to say, hey, I'm on the clock right now, or hey, I'm eating right now. Let me lower my refeed times so I can hit my timer again and put more fasts under my belt, whether it's a 16-hour, an 18-hour, a 23. Thanks, Maggie. Maggie says, I really enjoyed your daily live streams. I did too. I found a lot of progress. I got to like a lot of goals doing that. So it's been a journey. I don't know if I'll ever get back to dailies. I would love to do more than 3. Well, I'm currently doing 4 days a week with the autophagy live stream. So I feel like this is a good balance for now. In bed during COVID says 700 pounds plus opening weight. It's a lot. That is definitely a lot. In bed, I don't know, right? I don't think you and I have ever talked before. That is right. I mean, many people in here are probably nowhere close to that. And so, and you can maybe tell me in chat if you'd like, but what is your plan moving forward with this? Because obviously at that weight, it's probably hard to get around, but you know, the first thing that obviously comes to mind here is it starts with control when it comes to food. And I'll say this personally for me too. Lately, and you'll see this when I talk about my nerd stats in a bit, but lately for me, my refeeds have been very heavy. They've been closer to the 10,000 calorie mark. So my last refeed, I told myself, Jerome, you don't have to do 10,000. You don't also have to do 2,000. Try to at least get into 5,000 calories if you've been doing 7,000, 8,000, 10,000. So even for you in bed, I don't know what your calorie count looks like, but even if it means just cutting things by 25% and starting there and seeing if that helps, I don't know. I mean, please keep me posted, keep us posted, see if this is helpful for you. Maybe we'll see you on the next live stream. So it's nice to see you here. Thanks, Maritimer. Maritimer says, Jerome, I just watched your first 2 live streams from your first few days after restarting in November 2023. So anybody who's wondering about this, if you want to see me at pretty much my heaviest weight, all you have to do is go back in November of 2023. And you can see when I started, even before I started, I pretty much went to do a live stream, and it was a very teary-eyed one because I was very emotional after leaving YouTube for 2+ years and hiding, and I let it all out on that day. But if you want to see what imperfect consistency looks like, you can go back to November of 2023, and you can see how I pushed hard at that time. And you will see from then to where I'm at now, how my journey has evolved. So this is why I talk about accountability. This is why I talk about imperfect consistency. This is why I continue to have success, because I do not give up. I am accountable by doing something like this so publicly because this helps me ensure that I will not walk away from this. This helps me keep a really sharp focus on my journey. In bed, I see you posting in here. It's nice to see you post in here. I'm just going to point this out. Happy Bunny says, I did lose 15 pounds since I started in October, but then I gained 7 during this week for the holidays. So remember this, though, Happy Bunny, because Happy Bunny says, so it feels like I've undone what little progress I made, feeling mixed about my progress. First of all, remember, 7 pounds in a week, you most likely did not put on 7 pounds of fat unless you were consistently eating like 5,000, 6,000 calories for 7 days straight. Maybe you were, maybe you weren't. But all I'm going to tell you is keep pushing forward. These rough moments in time, when you say, I feel like I undid my progress, you didn't. Because over the last 3 months, you have learned to build consistency. You have learned to tell yourself, I'm not going to walk away from this. You have learned to change your mindset. That's the thing that most people don't realize. It isn't just about the number on the scale, Happy Bunny. Remember that. It isn't just about the number on the scale. You have to keep pushing forward with what you're doing. Okay, let me just scroll down here if there's anything that maybe I haven't seen from others. Jose says, Happy New Year. Happy New Year, Jose. Nice to see you. Gio says here, I have to put this in my brain that if I don't do a 3-day fast, for example, then I need to stick to a low calorie debit or deficit, which for me is 1,500. But if I walk, I can eat a little more. And Gia, this is a great way to look at it, right? If you can't fast for a long period of time, then that means that when it's time to break, you start eating clean. You keep your calories down. You know this. All you have to do is attempt it. If you hit 1,500 or less, that's great. If you're more than that, that's also great. It isn't what you wanted, but if your goal is 1,500, you normally eat, let's say 2,800, but you kept it at 1,800, or even if you kept it at 2,000, that is still progress. That's still progress from what a lot of people would not do and just walk away from it and say, well, fuck it, I'm going to McDonald's. Fuck it, I'm going to go order a pizza. There is still a lot of work that can be done. So just know that you can still do something for yourself outside of a 3-day fast. Gia also says, and you can still lose weight without fasting, but staying in a low calorie deficit, right? Yes, absolutely. I have shown that. So remember, even if the number is not moving itself down quickly, there is still a lot to be said about keeping your weight steady. There is still a lot to be said about eating clean, exercising, working on strength training, using non-scale victories like looking at smaller clothes and seeing if they fit better, if you look better in them, because that is more than just a number on the scale. So yes, absolutely, Gia. Carlo says here, up 30 pounds over the past 4 months of sidetracking to care for mom. She's mended, and now I'm back home, went walking today and 2 days into a fast. Aloha all. Carlo, I love that for you. Thank you for sharing with us. I'm glad to hear that your mom is better. I can only imagine how difficult that can be for many people when they're put in a situation like that. It is still a reminder that your health and happiness is just as important, because as you're taking care of someone else, if your health were to go the next day, then nobody can be helped at that point, or somebody else would have to step in. So just continue to remember to take care of yourself as well. But I love that for you, Carlo. Good luck to you on being 2 days in. Keep me posted when I live stream again on Thursday, right? For Thursday for people in the States. Let me know how things are going, Carlo. Thank you for sharing. Gion, hi, it's nice to see you. Andrew says here, yesterday was a rough fasting day. The weather was gross all day and my energy just dragged in my fast. But did you get through your fast, Andrew? Hopefully you did. You know that some days are going to be harder than others. I've had my fair share of things. Maybe, if anything, Andrew, it's just good to know that you're able to vent this out and know that you're not alone on your journey. John says here, Jerome, I was there on the live stream when you came back to YouTube. Wow, it's been 2 years. That was an emotional time and you did it. I have. And, you know, it's crazy to think that that's where I was just 2 years ago and where I'm at today. So it's also just a reminder how even 2+ years later that the journey doesn't end. It's crazy to think. Cap Rising says, I didn't make my ADF today. I broke it 20 hours. I can try again tomorrow. But if not, the plan is to get to 20 hours and 30 minutes and build up the fasting muscle. I love this. I just finished 10,000 steps during this live. Congrats. Cap Rising talking about doing ADF. And for many of you, you might be thinking about doing ADF. And if you're not able to get to ADF, if you're not able to push a long fast, what is the minimum action that will be performed then during that day? So Cap Rising wasn't able to do ADF, but did 20 hours. But Cap Rising didn't then just say, well, time to throw everything away. Don't hit a timer. What's the point of even doing anything after this? But Cap Rising also has said, if I can't do ADF right now, maybe the plan is to at least do 20 hours and 30 minutes work on building the fasting muscle. And you've heard me say this before. When people say, Jerome, I can't get past 22 hours. And it's like, if you can do 22 hours, you can do 22 hours and 30 minutes. If you can do 22 hours and 20 or 30 minutes, you can do 23 hours. If you can do 23 hours, you can do 23 hours and 15 minutes. And if you think about that, doing something like that on a regular basis, and it doesn't mean that every fast has to be longer than the next, but if you can at least put some effort into it, you are practicing imperfect consistency. You are ditching the notion of being perfect. You are ditching the notion of thinking that the only good fast is a long fast. You are ditching the notion that only eating super clean is the only way to eat. This is how you learn. This is how you build on what you're doing. Thank you for sharing with us, Cap Rising. Maple says, what is your opinion on ADF 500 OMAD? I'm unfamiliar with this. So ADF, what's my opinion on alternate day fasts? Alternate day fasts are great. It works for me. It gives me the opportunity to eat every other day. It gives me the opportunity to lift weights every other day because I have calories in me to push hard. When you're saying 500 OMAD, are you talking about only eating 500 calories on an OMAD day? Listen, if you can get through an OMAD eating 500 calories, more power to you. You're putting yourself at a calorie deficit, and then you're able to get on with your day. And then if you could throw another ADF in there, I don't know if you're talking about alternating this or what, doing OMAD 500 calories and then doing ADF. Those should show results. What's my opinion on it is if it works for you, if it feels sustainable, if you can function like a normal human being doing something like this, because let's be real here, doing ADF and doing OMAD with only 500 calories is still difficult for many people. I can't even do OMAD and keep my calories in check. So this is hard for me, but what is my opinion on it? If you can do it successfully, you're dropping weight, you're feeling good, go for it. If you can't, do a variation of that. Flexibly fast. So it's a positive opinion, if anything. I'm just wondering, is there a specific protocol when it comes to that? It's a good idea. I always like reading things like this because there are different ways of doing things. There are different ways of approaching it. And every single one of these things that many of us try to do, or if we're trying to eat a certain way, or if we're trying to eat just a certain amount, it's good practice. It is a good tool that you can have in your tool belt, in your toolbox, but it also doesn't mean that it is the only way of doing things. It is just a tool that you can use when it is time to use it, and then do something else when it is time to pivot. Melly Mel says, hi all, joined late. I'll catch the replay. Fasting and eating clean have been a struggle the last couple of weeks. Still trying to keep my calories in check and work on the other levers, trying to maintain. Thank you for sharing with us, Melly Mel. I hope you've been enjoying the holidays. I know we talk. I'm sure I'll see you tomorrow on the Autophagy live stream. Many of us have been struggling. I've been there too. Many people have because of the holidays. But I love to see that you're still trying to be in it. You aren't walking away from it. You're not pretending that I'm just going to start on Monday. Many people, though, are starting tomorrow. Again, I understand if many of you are, but I'm happy to hear you're still working on your other weight loss levers and trying to maintain. And Gion and I talked about this yesterday. Gion says here, Gion has an issue with binging. And usually Gion was finding herself binging after completing a 48-hour fast. So what Gion is going to try to do this week is to maybe perform something closer to OMAD and having a little more control on the diet part and seeing if not performing longer fasts will help from overeating on foods that maybe Gion knows doesn't have to overeat on. So Gion, continue to keep us posted. Thank you for sharing with us. 500 on fasting days. I see. So I like this, Maple. You know, a lot of people get too hung up on fasting perfectly. And this is what I talk about imperfect consistency as well. There is nothing wrong with doing a pure water fast, keeping it very clean, because there are people who will do a pure water fast and won't even have coffee. They won't have any 0-calorie drinks. They won't even put lemon or a splash of it or lime, which is fine if that's what you want to do. But there are also other people who might have or go through a prolonged fast, and they might have bone broth during that time. They might have even a limited amount of calories during that time. And Maple, my suggestion is if you want to put 500 calories in, you can. If you want to put 250 calories in, you can. You are still putting yourself at a severe caloric deficit. Now, the argument here is there are a lot of people that say that isn't fasting, that isn't. Listen, it doesn't matter. If somebody wants to modify their fast, what harm does it do for you? If it helps them prolong their fast, think about it like this. If Maple of David, not Maple of David, I'm so sorry, Maple Leaf David, I've been saying it wrong. If Maple Leaf David was finding success eating 500 calories one day, maybe 250 the next, and then maybe the next day eats a regular meal, and then after that is like, I'm so stuffed, I'm going to do a regular fast then and eat 0 calories. Ultimately, you're putting yourself at a severe caloric deficit, which will then result in fat loss, which will result in excess fat loss, which will result on the scale pushing itself down. And the purists can come in here and they can say all they want about, well, autophagy, listen, if the goal right now is to get the weight on the scale down, focus on that. If the focus right now is building on better habits and eating less, focus on that. So Maple Leaf David, I mean, it's a great protocol if it's something that you can do. Just remember, it doesn't mean that you have to eat 500. If you can eat less than that, go for it. If it means that you don't have to eat anything and you can get by with a 0-calorie drink, go for it. Many things that you can try. So if anything, my only advice for you is you share with us regardless of what happens during that time. So, okay, with that being said, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to get into nerd stats in here because we've been an hour and a half in right now. So I'm going to share with you all what my fasts have looked like over the last 2-ish weeks, right? 2 or 3 weeks. They have not been super long, but there's a reason I want to share how some of my fasts have looked like over the last 2 weeks. You'll see a lot of 40-hour fasts in here. You'll see a 64. You'll see me eating back-to-back days. On Christmas Day, I only did a 15-hour fast. And then I've been doing ADF somewhere between 40 hours, 33 hours. Currently, I'm 34 hours in at the moment. If I were to, let me unplug my charger here. If I were to share with you where I'm currently at fasted wise, because I know I put 34 hours right now as you and I are talking, and this is trying to pop up. I'm currently 36 hours fasted at the moment. I will be breaking later tonight, but what I'm trying to share with you all is, well, if you just look at the bottom, over the last 2+ years, my fasting time has really dropped. My fasting time now is under a 2-day fast. My current average fasting time is around 47 hours versus what it used to be before during my first year of fasting when my fasting average was about 4 days. That has dropped over time. Now, what I'm talking about though is even though I've been fasting for that long, and as you see the refeeds there, my weight has still climbed up. So you might be looking at that and you might be saying, but Jerome, you were doing 40+ hour fasts. You had a 60-some hour fast in there. How are you still pushing up on the scale? You know why. Let's be realistic. You know why my weight is still pushing up. Because I still have a hard time when it comes to controlling my calories. And let's be real, my refeeds over the last 2 weeks have been insane since I have been tracking my calories. Now, if you look at the very top there, 5,200 calories, 9,500 calories, nearly a 10,000 calorie refeed, 6,000 calories, 4,500 calories, 7,800 calories. And then just 4 days ago, I ate 9,600 calories. Again, almost a 10,000 calorie day. And then if you look at 2 days ago, my calories were 4,300 calories. That is the lowest calorie count I've had since I've started tracking again. Here's what I told myself 2 days ago. Jerome, you are eating 8,000 calories. You are eating 10,000 calories. I could have easily told myself, okay, Jerome, just keep your calories under 2,500. But I know that I have such a hard time doing that. So I told myself something even simpler. I said, Jerome, keep it under 5,000 calories. If you can keep your calories under 5,000, go for it. Thankfully, what I did is I really prioritized protein. I made sure I ate foods that would give me more satiety. I ate a macro that would actually burn more calories because eating more protein means your body has to digest more. Eating more protein means your body has to work harder to digest protein. You actually burn more calories digesting protein than carbs and fat, which is why I prioritized it. I ate 4,300 calories with 345 grams of protein. Now, I understand you could be looking at that and you could be saying 4,300 calories in 2 hours, that's still a ton of calories. It is, I know that. But for me, that is more control than I've had in the last 2 weeks. It's better than me not tracking for the past month prior to that. So this is me getting back into my journey and what I'm doing. So I'm very happy with that. This morning, my weight was 144. I was 144 this morning. Listen, I will take that. As somebody who, before I left the Philippines, was averaging somewhere between 136 and 138. I was 144 today. I will take it. I don't want to necessarily be here. I would love to be back in the high 130s, but I'm not there right now. So there's not much I can do when it comes to that. I just need to keep pushing forward. I need to keep my calories in check, and that's what I plan on doing. Obviously, this is more than just fasting. My step average has actually been down over the last 18 days. Sometimes the heat here in the Philippines is so much, and I try to just push my walks later in the day when the sun isn't blazing out. But yes, my step average is down. I'm not too hard on myself about this because I'm still averaging over 10,000 calories or 10,000 steps. And I know I'm getting my calories in a lot better control. So I'm okay with that. I'm okay with where I'm at currently at that point. A couple more slides before we kind of wrap nerd stats up here. Yes, I follow an 80-20 rule, meaning that 80% of the time I am either fasting or I'm keeping my calories in check. In the last 2 weeks, I have had 8 80% days. These are fasting days because I have yet to have a 80% controlled eating day. What I consider a controlled eating day is keeping my calories under 4,000. I have not been able to do that yet. My hope is I will be able to do so soon. But I have had a lot of 20% days where 6 of those days I have eaten more than 4,000 calories, currently averaging 6,700 calories. And that is why there is an uptick on my weight, because my calories are not in check. So if I am following this 80-20 rule, I am not. I have had more 80% days, but it is not at an 80% mark. I'm currently 57-43. 57% of the time I am doing what I'm supposed to be doing. 43% of the time I am overeating. That is not the number I need to be on or at. I need to have more 80% days at this point. And you can see it here as I share with you my calorie pace. Anything highlighted in red, I am way over in calories. And you'll see as we push into the last part of the week here or the end of the month, my deficit is so high that I am currently showing 4.2 pounds in excess of body fat, which also kind of proves it on the scale as well. For being somewhere between 136 and 138 and currently being somewhere at around 144 to 146, it shows I am up in weight. And so part of my plan, and I'll be sharing this in 2 days, is talking to you what my plan is for 2026, where I plan to be and what I plan to be doing and how I aim to get back into the 130s and continue to build muscle and lose body fat or excess body fat. So those are my nerd stats for today. I actually feel like I've been talking a lot. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna take time and I'm gonna go ahead and do fit check. Fit check is when I stand back here and show you what I look like physically. Why do I do that? Because that is my way of being transparent. That is my way of being accountable. That is my way of not walking away from this. But before I do fit check, I just want to go ahead and share with you all that I have been overweight my entire life. Not just overweight, but even in childhood, overweight, and then in my adolescent years, becoming obese, becoming morbidly obese in my teenage years, like you see here, in my 20s, in my 30s, and even in my 40s. Being 235 pounds at my heaviest at 5'3". Now, I share all those photos with you so you understand that I have been overweight my entire life. This isn't something that just happened recently. I'm 45 years old. I have been morbidly obese pretty much my entire life, but I have now lost that weight and have kept it off for over 2 years, naturally, not through medication, not through GLP-1, not through peptides, not through Ozempic, right? Not through Wegovy or anything like that. Not through weight loss surgery, not through HRT or TRT. I don't take anything for hormone replacement therapy or testosterone replacement therapy. I have lost this weight naturally. And I share that because I am telling you, if you are in a place where you feel like you have no other options, I just want to remind you that if somebody like me who has been morbidly obese his entire life has found a way to lose this weight naturally through working on my good habits, maybe you have that opportunity to do so as well. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to do fit check. I probably need to rearrange this camera just a little bit. There we go. So, yes, I'm currently up in weight. It's not exactly where I want to be, but I am not upset about it. I still feel pretty good with where I'm at. Currently, I am wearing this extra large boys shirt. I do wear boys clothes because I'm short. I know I said 235 pounds is my heaviest, and while that might not be a lot to some people, 235 pounds was me at 5'3". 5'3". I'm short, so putting on weight like that shows very quickly. So currently wearing these extra small shorts. These are smaller than size 28 waist. Like I said, this morning I weighed in at 144 pounds at 5'3". So front shot here, got the side shot over here, got the rear here, side again, and front. So yes, I am up a bit in weight. I do have loose skin here. I do have bloat. I probably have most likely excess body fat. One of the things that I didn't talk about during my highlights is the fact that I also had a DEXA scan done, right? I had a DEXA scan done around November of 2025. At the beginning of 2025, when I hit my lowest weight at 135.6, and my DEXA scan showed that year over year, I went from 17.5% body fat or 20% body fat in 2024 of November to 17.5% body fat of 2025 of November. So I'm at a good trajectory losing excess body fat. My plan, my hope for 2026 when I go for my DEXA scan in November is to go from 17.5% to something lower. It would be great if it's 15%. It would be great if it was longer than that, but we'll see what that number looks like. People ask me if I have loose skin. Like I said, I do. You'll see it on my lower belly. That's where the majority of it is. I actually have loose skin on my upper inner thighs. I have loose skin on my neck here. I mean, you'll see it. It doesn't bounce back. I do this every live stream. You also have to remember, I used to be 100 plus pounds more. At my heaviest, I was 235. At my lowest, I weighed 125. But it's one of the reasons I lift weights. I think aesthetically it looks pleasing, but like, you know, even having loose skin here on my upper inner arms, which honestly isn't awful, but it's there, right? Like there's no hiding the fact. It is one of the reasons I lift weights because I think it maybe helps fill out the skin there. And I just like lifting weights. I think aesthetically it looks pleasing in that way. So that is Fit Check. Okay, at this point, I will take any last Q&A. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask them now. In the meantime, if any of you are looking for additional help when it comes to fasting, weight loss, or accountability, you can go to finallyfasting.com. You can book a one-on-one session with me. We can go over a game plan and a strategy to help you to get to your goals. Most of us already know what we need to do. Most of us know that fasting will help us lose weight. Most of us know that eating healthier, eating less will help us lose weight, that cardio and strength training and sleeping well are all good things that you should be doing for yourself. But maybe the piece that's missing for many of you is the accountability. The piece that's missing for you is the consistency. And if you are looking for somebody to help you with that, if you're looking for an accountability partner or an accountability coach, you can go to finallyfasting.com and we can have a conversation. So check that out if that's something that you might be interested in. At the same time, if any of you want to help in an additional way, you can be part of the Finally Fasting fam. If you are looking to do that, you can go to the link in the live stream of this description. Did I say that right? You can go to the link in the description of this live stream. If you go to the link in the description of this live stream, you can click that link. You can be part of the Finally Fasting fam. You'll notice that we have some members in chat right now. They have a different color in their name. They have an emoji next to their name. They get to use custom emoji. They'll get their name on the intros of these live streams, which I still have to update. And It's just a way to support. If you join the higher tier group, you can join us on our Wednesday weekly group coaching sessions, which we will be having tomorrow. And that is where it's not just me that talks. Other people will hop on camera. Other people will share their goals and their success for the week. It's a really good way to be part of a community and know that you're not alone. So if that's something you're interested in, please feel free to take a look at the link in the description of this live stream. So that's pretty much it. Let me just read through any other questions that might be on here before I go. Peace to All says, Jerome, I watched your Return to Fasting video. It was inspiring. I cried through most of it. I appreciate the support. Thank you for watching. I was just trying to be as honest as I could during that time. Congrats on your success. I know it was far from an easy journey. Much respect. Thank you so much, Peace to All. I appreciate that. Oh my goodness. Eric says it's actually nice in Perth today. Western Australia, where I live, was the hottest place on the planet on Christmas Day. I had no idea, Eric. How hot was it then? Was it over 40 Celsius? I actually know that number now, being here in the Philippines for 6 weeks. People usually look at 40 degrees Celsius as like extremely hot. Here, right now in the Philippines, it's somewhere between, I think, 30 and 32, somewhere between like 85 and 90 degrees every day, something like that. But I would imagine it's probably over 40 at that, or over 40 if you're talking about it being super hot then. Red Mao asks, during your longest fast, did you use any supplements? So when I did like my 1 week fasts, at the very beginning, I would just take a pinch of salt, put it under my tongue. I was taking no salt, which is a potassium supplement. I was doing the same thing, putting it under my tongue. And I think from time to time, I was using magnesium citrate. But Red Mao, really to answer your question, the bigger thing that I was taking during that time was just salt. I would just put like some salt under my tongue, and that's what would help me get through my 7-day fasts or my longer fasts or my prolonged fast. But like I said, I would drink black iced coffee. I would drink an occasional Coke Zero or Diet Dr. Pepper, just whatever was 0 calorie at the time. And so that helped me prolong my fast. That's what was able to help me push forward in doing what I was doing. Eric asks, have you found cheap Brussels sprouts or a good replacement yet? So to give you a short answer here, Eric, is no. There are Brussels sprouts here, but they're super expensive and they're just not enough. And I don't even have an oven here right now. I know I've talked about maybe getting an air fryer, but at this time, I've really just been trying to point at this correctly, I've been using this induction pan. So what I've been doing is I just use this pan and I make kind of like a hot pot. That's usually what I've been eating a lot of lately. I'll dump some water in there. I'll either throw in chicken or shrimp. I haven't really been eating beef since I've been here. I've been eating a lot of chicken and shrimp because when I go out to eat, that's when I'm eating beef or pork. So for the most part, so far when I'm eating at home, I throw in chicken, shrimp. I'll throw in like a seasoning cube. I'll throw soy sauce in there. Then I'll throw a bunch of vegetables. But the vegetables I'm eating, broccoli, spinach, carrots, cauliflower. I think those are the ones mushrooms. I've been eating a lot of mushrooms. Shiitake mushrooms are actually cheap here in the Philippines. So I've been eating a lot of that. I've been eating a lot of corn. So those are kind of my replacements at the moment. And I'm actually pretty happy with that. So it's good. I'm actually finding a happy, like refeeding type of thing to eat, which I'm happy about, because for a while I was like, how am I ever going to eat as good as I ate before? But so far, I've been pretty happy with some of the choices that I've been making. So, yeah, happy with that. So, okay, yeah, Eric says hot pot can be tasty. Nugonix, have I seen you in here before? It says it's 28 on the Sunshine Coast in Queensland. Well, hello from Manila. Nice to see someone from Queensland in here. I'm just trying to see what the weather is right now here in the Philippines. So It says currently it's 85. I don't know what that is Celsius. I'm just curious. 85 Fahrenheit is 29. It's 29 here right now. So it's about the same with me here, Nuganics. So anyway, I think that's it, everyone. Before I wrap things up here, I just want to remind people that I know 2026 is coming. I hope that this live stream helped you prepare for that. I hope it helped give you some insight on making sure that you are not doing the all or nothing. Remember, I'm not saying that you can't do the all, because you absolutely can. I just want you to continue to show up and be accountable regardless, even if your days aren't perfect, because I am not perfect, you are not perfect, and there is nothing wrong with that. All you have to do is just keep pushing forward and learning to work on your good habits. I guess before I go here, I just saw Kevin drop in saying, hello, fasting fam, checking in, keeping OMAD. We'll have a 20% day tomorrow with prime rib. Happy New Year, everyone. I'll start the year with a rolling 155. Kevin, I look forward to your rolling 155s. I know you've been in here on a consistent basis prior as well, really pushing those. So I look forward to talking to you in the near future. So as I wrap up here, a very big special thank you to Juan. Juan, thank you for the $10 super sticker today. I appreciate the additional support. To all of my Finally Fasting fam members, again, thank you so much for your continued support as always. To my everyday regulars, or not every day, but every time I live stream, thank you for being in here. Thank you for being kind and supportive to people in here in chat. It means so much to me. And I guess that's it. I am currently working on a 36 plus hour fast. I plan to keep pushing forward with that later today, but I will be breaking today, and I will be eating again tomorrow because I have a family thing tomorrow as well. So I'll be eating back-to-back days, but I'm not sweating it. I know that that's just what's going to be happening. So even though for me, I'm going to be starting the year doing 20%, I'll probably be having two 20% days because I'm also going out on Saturday, and I probably plan to eat then too. But it's okay because it's just 2 days out of that year. I have the rest of 2026 to keep pushing forward. And honestly, I've been doing this for almost 800 days now. Those are just very small glimpses into the bigger picture of things. Remember, you are not alone. Remember, it doesn't have to be all or nothing. You can still practice imperfect consistency. Here is my obligatory way of goodbye. I will talk to you all again on Thursday at 7:30 p.m. Central, Chicago time. I think that's right. All right, I'll see you all on Thursday. Happy New Year to all of you. For people who are in my autophagy live stream, I will see you tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. Central. Have a good one, everyone. Take care. Bye now.